What General Weygand has called the Battle of France is over. The Battle of Britain is about to begin.
Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to War Thunder with yours truly, WeBe. And today we're going to be flying out the Spitfire Mark 1 in the Hardest Day event on War Thunder Realistic Battle. Now I hope you actually enjoyed that quite nostalgic intro. A lot of you will recognise where that comes from. If you did, make sure you put it in the comment section below. I want to see how many of you got that. But that footage was originally from quite a while back. But what I decided to do was to incorporate into the front of this video because I thought it would be quite cool. But yeah, anyway, the Spitfire in the Hardest Day event. This particular event is actually probably one of my favourites, alongside with the Guardian Angels and the Flight of Swallows event. It's really good fun because the Battle of Britain is probably one of the most historical air battles ever taken place. Probably with the largest amount of aircraft ever taken place in an aerial sort as well. Thinking about it. Maybe. Sort of. Probably. But the Spitfire is also a very iconic plane, which is why I have taken it out today. Now this skin is not mine, but I will leave a link in the description below if you'd like to go download it. Really good skin actually, very high quality. I believe the skin was actually made from scratch almost, so it's pretty darn good. Now originally I was actually going to take the Hurricane out into this event, but I decided against it because mainly not many people fly the Hurricanes, and the only really good thing that the Hurricane is useful for in this event is taking out the bombers. Now I know that is one of the if not the primary objective, which is to save the airfield, but the problem is you've got to have that balance between taking out all the enemies extremely quickly and then also taking out the bombers if need be, you know. So that's why I went with the Spitfire, because it's got a fair bit of ammunition and it also is capable of doing everything, not just one thing. I mean, the Hurricane's capable of taking out 109s, but it's not exactly the best at its role. The Spitfire is slightly better for that sort of thing, so that's why I took it out. But in this game, I don't know what happened, but I just went complete fighter race in like this little bit of segment here. I get 4 aerial kills, which is players, and the rest are AI. But I just managed to somehow pull some hat tricks out of my bag, and I literally wrecked about 3 people in succession. So it's quite entertaining to watch. And the last guy I kill, unfortunately I have to chase around the map for about 10 bloody minutes, because he's a bloody 109 and Jerry won't come say hello. So I had to go and chase him, which was a bit unfortunate. But what can you do? You see? Why you do this, War Thunder? Why you do this? Why you make me chase people around the maps for half hour? But I actually purposely went into this stall. Don't worry, I'm not being a pleb. Because I wanted to kind of get my nose down as soon as possible. But it didn't quite work out. I kind of went into a little spinny thing here. But it looks cool, so let's roll with it. Now, this is the part where I actually do rather well. Now, as many of you know, the Spitfire Mark 1 has a gravity engine. I believe the carburetor is gravity. So the problem is, if you go inverted for too long, you flood the carburetor. And that means your engine dies. So you've got to be very careful while going inverted in the Spitfire Mark 1. If any of you wondered why it does make that, like the RPM does go down on the Spitfire when you're going inverted, that's why. The slightly later Spitfires fix this issue. So that's always nice. Where's this guy going? Oh yeah, I remember what I was going to do. Okay, so basically this guy I'm following, I just basically got some shots off onto him, and I decided against following him into that. This is going to be a close call around here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. So, not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Now, I put a few shots into this HE111 because, you know, more points, why not? I think I actually caused this guy to go down. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, critical him. I pull off there. Because once they're critical, that's basically a guaranteed kill. Now, get out of the way of that 109E3. Bring back ourselves back around onto him. This is where the fun begins. Now, that guy did actually get here. I don't know if you can see there, but he's got a lot of fuel trailing out the back of him. So I go into here, lead him, put some shots into him. You can see his elevators and ailerons got hit there. Now, this guy did try and roll on me, but I used rudder and snap rolled over, loop back down, conserving my energy, lead the target, putting in on his 6. Now, there is a friendly there. I am aware of that. Put some shots into him. And he's down. Well, he's not, but he is. So the HE111 is now down, and so is the BF109. Now, there's a guy, I think, come on, I can get him. I can get him. Yes, I can. So that's already 3 kills in a matter of probably about 15, 20 seconds, maybe? Maybe not even that. Maybe a little less. You never know. So that was very, very enjoyable. That little streak. Now, this last guy over here is the last bally one that I have to get. Now, unfortunately, you're going to have to bear with me now because this is the boring part where we have to chase him halfway across the map. So, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll have a nice little chat. What is good about the Spitfire and how should it be flown? Well, the Spitfire Mark 1 was Britain's first actual proper aircraft, apart from the Hawker Hurricane, in the fighter role. Now, the Spitfire was designed to be up in 2 minutes. So that's from the pilots running to their aircraft, taken off and to altitude within 2 minutes. Hence why the Spitfires are such good climbers, because they were designed to get up quickly and get to their target. The Hawker Hurricanes are kind of more of the brute. Their Hawker Hurricane is kind of like... that's why you often see Hurricanes going for the HE111s, because they carry more ammunition, they can take a little bit more beating, they have more guns generally, and the Spitfire doesn't. The Spitfire is kind of conserved in what it does. It's mainly in the fighter role, or the escort role. Hurricanes would generally go take out the HE111s, Spitfires would generally go and take out the Messerschmitt 109s. So, how does that work in War Thunder? It does. If you're going to go after the bombers in this event, always take a Hurricane out. If you want to go for fighters, take the Spitfire. The Spitfire can keep up with the 109s, just about. The Hurricane cannot. That Merlin engine just about performs. Just about. So you've got to be very careful, and that's on wet. On 100%, I don't think you probably could. So you've got to be very specific in the way you use your aircraft in its role. Unfortunately, what the Spitfire isn't very good at is going fast. The 109 is definitely better at that. Although, it's better at going fast at low speeds. So, for example, if a ME-109 was at, I don't know, maybe 3,000 meters, he will have a considerable advantage over you because his engine is designed to go at that kind of altitude, low to mid altitude, whereas the Spitfire was designed as a low altitude aircraft, taking out bombers. Now, obviously, this changed a lot as the Spitfire development went along. You know, we see things like the Mark 22, the Mark 24 coming along, the Mark 16, the Mark 9, etc. The Mark 9 was probably the last true Spitfire, what we would call the Spitfire. After that, it kind of went a bit pear-shaped in a way. Also, a lot of the Spitfires that people don't realise are Spitfires are actually the Mark 5B. Now, the Mark 5B in War Thunder has a whacking great big air intake on it. That's because it's the Mark 5B Trop. Now, the standard Mark 5B looks basically like a Mark II, but outperforms it in many aspects. Basically, the power and capabilities and the weaponry of the Mark V, but on a Mark II. I believe the chassis and the fuselage is changed slightly. Slightly. Not much. Slightly. But that's what I would call a Spitfire, personally, the Mark V and the Mark IX. Now, even though the Mark II looks like a Spitfire, and it is a Spitfire, obviously, it kind of lacks that kind of late war feel. I know that the Mark I and the Mark II are kind of what is known for the Battle of Britain, but I prefer the Mark V and the Mark IX. Here's a pretty cool story. The gym I go to, there's a guy down there that actually has a friend who owns a Spitfire, and he's gonna have a chat with him, see if I can go and see it and maybe get a ride in a Spitfire. So that's gonna be pretty cool if that happens. I will keep you updated on that if that does manage to happen. I doubt it will. If it does, it'll be pretty damn good. Don't worry, I will of course record it. I've never been up in a single or two-seater. I haven't ever been up in a helicopter. I have never been up in anything else apart from a airliner. So yeah, that's going to be fun if that does eventually happen. But it should be cool. Now, back to the game. Yes, I'm still chasing this BF-109. What he does decide to do eventually is he actually starts banking round. Now, as you see here, that's probably the worst thing he could have done, purely because the Spitfire is kind of designed to turn, whereas his plane isn't. Although the earlier BF-109s are actually more maneuverable than the later ones, it kind of doesn't translate as well. I mean, the Spitfire was designed to dogfight. The BF-109, although it was designed to do its job, it kind of didn't perform as much as the Spitfire. The Spitfire came as a really big shock to the system when the Germans faced it for the first time. So, we'll see. You can turn in a 109, but I just don't recommend turning with Spitfires. You can turn with anything else, practically, maybe not Yaks. Yeah, maybe not Yaks. But, pretty much anything else you're capable of turning with. Now, I lead the target here. As you see, I'm kind of like flying alongside him. Main reason for that is because if he turns, I'll gain the distance, and unfortunately he decides against it. So again, I just put my nose down a little bit, gain some speed. Now, I am actually catching up to him. Point 30 is generally what I would normally start shooting at, but with the amount of rounds of ammunition I have, I needed to get in extremely close. You can see how close to the ground the two of us actually are here, chasing each other. But, or me chasing him and trying to shake me. But we eventually come out over to the water. Now, I start taking a few pot shots here, trying to see if I can hit him. I believe one does actually hit. I think you see a little spark, but nothing too major. Now, he is going to continue to keep running. So I'm thinking, okay, just keep on the throttle, we'll see what we can do. Now, the other guy's gone back to rearm, which is absolutely fine because I can keep this guy busy. Now, I'm taking a few pot shots here, trying to scare him. I think I actually get a hit on him here. Yes, I do. So that kind of puts him into a little bit of a panic. And I believe that's what makes him start turning in a second. He's bringing me out over the water. Which is probably not the wisest thing for him to do, to be fair, because it's not exactly going to help him out much. He would have been better in land. But as you see here, I'm going at treetop level. He's climbed a bit, so obviously he's going to start losing speed. Now, when he sees me closing in at quite a distance, he makes a foolish move of trying to turn. Now, that's one thing you do not want to do in a Messerschmitt against a Spitfire. You do not turn whatsoever. Otherwise, you'll see this guy's fate here. Unfortunately, this doesn't end very well for Mr. Fritz. I did actually consider... I put all my rounds of ammunition into him. And I thought he was going down here. And that's the rest of it. I did consider wingtipping him, but I didn't need to. He eventually went into the sea. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you click that like button below. Subscribe if you're new around here for some more War Thunder content. Take care, guys. I'll see you next time.